think, a pretty major move in terms of considering the circumstances, right? Montgomery battled that injury, the ankle injury after the final preseason game, traveled with the team, obviously scored a touchdown, the lone touchdown in Sunday's game. You thought maybe, hey, this, he's over this. This is their third down back. Didn't see him a lot. Maybe not as much as you'd expect, your pass catching.
So back. I'll tell you this, he played more than you think he did. He played 21 snaps, which is one less than Damian Harris, 7 more than Ramondre Stevenson. He also played 7 snaps on special teams. He was the kick returner. He played a good amount, which is why this is surprising.
Sneaky 21 snaps.
Yeah, well, yeah, it maybe didn't feel like as many, but, and that's, I have the percentage here in front of me. If you give me 1 second, 37%. So more than a third of the time he was on the field. Harris was at 39. Stevenson was at 25. He played a regular role in the running back rotation. And it didn't, it wasn't one of those things where I never saw him limp off the field or anything like that. Like, there was no obvious injury moment.
No, and that was the strange thing, right? As to why why he's going on IR now, and like you said, Lil Jordan Humphrey coming up. Now you get a 2-man backfield right now, right? I mean, you expect JJ Taylor's probably going to be elevated, right? Guys like that will just kind of soften the blow a little bit, but an interesting move to start. And not interesting, I guess it's common, but an unfortunate move for them, because I thought that was a guy that had a good preseason, somebody you were excited about, obviously scored a touchdown, and you did see flashes of Ramondre's ability to catch the ball, but now he's your pass catching back, or they're just going to kind of mix it in with both these guys.
I think that they're going to go to something we saw in the preseason where Stevenson and Harris are both going to catch passes and they're just going to alternate drives. And we saw a little bit of it in that game. That's the most I've ever seen Damian Harris involved in the passing game. And it's not just like throwing the ball to him, right? That includes pass pro and things like that. I think that's going to be the new model here. Is it's just going to be those two guys back and forth, and maybe JJ Taylor spells them on occasion when needed.
Right. So I guess that's the move we see this week heading into week 2. Montgomery's now out for 6 weeks, right? The minimum now is 6 weeks. He can.
No, it's 4 weeks now to return. So he could, in theory, start practicing. I think next week, right? Because it's 3 weeks to.
They changed it from.
It's 4 weeks to start practicing. So he's going to be out through at least week 5.
Right. So, I mean, maybe it's a lingering thing. It's early on in the year, obviously an important piece of their offense. Go get healthy. We think they can kind of soften the blow a little bit with these two guys anyway. So, I guess that's it for the moves this week. As of right now, obviously we can recap a little bit more.
Well, there's also, I would say also, Lil Jordan Humphrey getting promoted, I think stands out. The Marcus Cannon being brought back, we knew that. I think we'd already talked about that.
We did.
But Lil Jordan Humphrey getting elevated instead of Taylor, that tells me they will roll for him. It may be on special teams, but they needed a running back. They went with Humphrey instead. That's notable.
As well as, which we'll get into at some point in the show, you bring up another wide receiver. Is that, bad news for Kendrick Bourne, somebody that we should see on the field? I think we can get into that later in the show, but that's a little head scratching too, right? You said no Taylor. Is Pierre Strong going to be active? Is he kind of that third back now? Is he going to get leaped into a role kind of similar to Ramondre Stevenson did last year? That could be the case. And what they're going to go with, and Humphrey, like you said, who has special teams experience, somebody that thrived in the preseason, maybe takes over that Montgomery role we saw on Sunday in terms of special teams.
Yeah. I think like I said before, I think you look at it, special teams is probably where this makes sense. Based on the reports we're getting today about Kendrick Bourne, which are basically that he's benched now because he missed a team meeting about a month ago, which is a bit much. I'm not saying that's justified, but that sounds like why he's benched. This to me feels like more of a special teams move than anything else.